Before we get started, we upload new story every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our daily uploads. The weight of expectations. I never thought my own daughter would be the one to destroy me, but there I was at 62, staring at an eviction notice while she lived in the house I'd bought her. For 38 years, I'd been the reliable one, the problem solver, the woman who never said no when family needed help. My ex-husband called me a pushover, but I preferred to think of myself as generous. After all, isn't that what mothers do? We sacrifice, we give, we make sure our children have better lives than we did. But standing in my cramped studio apartment, holding that pink slip of paper that meant I had 30 days to find somewhere else to live, I realized generosity and foolishness often wear the same face. It started when Sarah was 25 and asked for help with a down payment. She'd just gotten engaged to Marcus, a charming man with expensive tastes and fluctuating income. They'd found the perfect house, but were short $20,000. Just a loan, she promised, with payments starting once they were settled. I liquidated my retirement savings without hesitation. When I signed those papers at the bank, transferring my life savings to my daughter's account, I felt proud. This was what I'd worked for all those years as a nurse, what I'd saved for through double shifts and skipped vacations. The monthly payments never came. There was always a reason. Marcus lost a client. Sarah needed unpaid leave when the baby came. The roof needed emergency repairs. Each time I brought up the loan, Sarah would look hurt. "I can't believe you're worried about money when we're struggling, Mom," she'd say, bouncing little Emma on her hip. I thought family was supposed to help each other unconditionally. The guilt would wash over me. She was right, wasn't she? What kind of mother puts a price on love? So when she asked for more help, I gave it. $5,000 for Marcus's business venture, $3,000 when Emma needed surgery, $8,000 when they couldn't make mortgage payments. Each time, I told myself this would be the last emergency before they got back on their feet. I started working extra shifts, picking up weekends even though my knees ached. My apartment got smaller as I downsized to afford their needs. I stopped going to dinner with friends, stopped buying myself clothes, stopped getting my hair done. Every dollar went to Sarah's emergencies, and there were always emergencies. The breaking point came on a Tuesday morning in March. I'd been working 6 days a week for 2 months to cover their latest crisis, something about Marcus's car breaking down. I was exhausted, living on coffee and determination, but I'd scraped together another $4,000. I drove to their house to deliver the check, planning to stay for lunch and spend time with Emma. As I pulled into their driveway, I noticed a gleaming new SUV with temporary tags. Not just any SUV, but a luxury model that cost more than I made in 6 months. My hands trembled as I sat in my 15-year-old Honda with its taped-up window. Through their kitchen window, I could see Sarah and Marcus laughing over coffee, Emma playing with an expensive tablet. The front door opened and Sarah appeared, her hair freshly highlighted, nails professionally manicured. She wore a designer jacket I'd seen her admiring weeks ago, the one she'd claimed was too expensive. "Mom!" she called cheerfully. "Perfect timing, we were just talking about planning a vacation. Emma's never been to Disney World." I got out slowly, the check clutched in my hand. "Sarah, whose SUV is that?" She glanced back as if she'd forgotten it was there. "Oh, that's Marcus's new car. His business is finally taking off, so we thought we'd celebrate. The old car was unreliable." "Business is taking off," I repeated. "Yes, isn't it wonderful? We're finally getting ahead." She noticed the envelope in my hand. "Is that for the mortgage help? You're such a lifesaver, Mom." Something inside me snapped, quietly but with finality. "Sarah, if business is good enough for a luxury SUV in Disney World, why do you need mortgage help?" Her smile faltered before brightening again. "Well, the SUV was practically a business necessity, and the Disney trip is for Emma. We can't deprive her just because of money. The mortgage help is just temporary." I looked at my daughter, really looked at her, perhaps for the first time in years. The highlights, the manicure, the designer clothes, the casual way she spent money while I worked myself to exhaustion. When had she become this person? "No," I said quietly. "No what?" "No, I won't be giving you mortgage money today, or any other day." Sarah's expression shifted from confusion to disbelief to panic. "Mom, you can't be serious. We're counting on this money." Then you'll have to pay your bills with Marcus's thriving business money, or maybe return the SUV. That's completely unreasonable. Marcus needs reliable transportation, and we can't uproot our lives because you're having some kind of mood swing. A mood swing. 38 years of sacrifice reduced to a mood swing because I'd finally said no. I walked back to my car without another word, ignoring Sarah's increasingly frantic calls. My hands shook as I started the engine, but for the first time in months, the shaking wasn't from exhaustion. That evening, I did something I hadn't done in years. I added up everything I'd given them, not just the big loans, but emergency groceries, utility bills, car repairs, insurance payments. The number made me dizzy. Over $80,000 in 3 years. I'd literally given them my security, my future, and my peace of mind. The next morning, I called in sick and made an appointment with a financial advisor. Margaret Chen listened without judgment as I laid out my situation. "Mrs. Patterson," she said gently, "you're in serious trouble. At 62, with no retirement savings, you need to stop the outflow immediately and start rebuilding. But what about Sarah and Emma?" Margaret looked at me with kind but firm eyes. "What happens when you can't help because you're homeless? What happens to Emma when her grandmother ends up in poverty?" The truth hit me like cold water. I'd been so focused on rescuing them that I'd put myself in a position where I'd need rescuing. I wrote a letter to Sarah explaining that I loved her and Emma more than life, but I couldn't continue enabling their financial irresponsibility. I told her about my own precarious situation, about the eviction notice I'd received because I'd fallen behind on rent while covering their mortgage. Sarah called 20 minutes after I delivered the letter, her voice shrill with indignation. "How dare you write something so hurtful? We're not financially irresponsible. We're going through a rough patch." I didn't say Marcus was lazy or manipulative, Sarah. I said I couldn't continue subsidizing your lifestyle while I lose my home. This isn't about lifestyle, it's about survival. We have a child to think about. So do I. I have to think about the child I raised who's become an adult. Adults pay their own bills. She hung up on me. 3 weeks passed without contact. The silence hurt more than I'd expected. I missed Emma terribly, wondering if she was asking about Grandma. Then Marcus called. His voice was different, lacking its usual charm. "Helen, we need to talk. Sarah's been beside herself since you cut us off. This is affecting Emma too." "Marcus, I didn't cut you off. I said I couldn't keep giving you money." "Same thing, isn't it? Look, we just need one more loan to get completely back on track. 15,000. I have this contract coming through." "Marcus, I don't have $15,000. I don't have 1,500. I'm about to be evicted." There was a pause. "Well, then I guess you understand how we feel all the time." The casual cruelty took my breath away. "Excuse me? Living with financial stress. It's not pleasant, is it? Maybe now you'll have more empathy for what we go through." I hung up and sat in darkness. He'd actually suggested my near homelessness would teach me empathy for their situation, the situation I'd been frantically trying to prevent with my own life savings. A week later, I found an eviction notice taped to my door. I had 10 days to find somewhere else to live. I spent those days frantically searching for affordable housing, but with no savings, my options were limited. On my last night, I packed my belongings into my car and boxes. As I loaded the last box, Sarah's SUV pulled into the parking lot. She got out slowly, her face pale. We stood there with 38 years of history between us and a chasm that felt unbridgeable. "Mom, I heard about the eviction. Mrs. Kim called me." I nodded, not trusting my voice. In a more working, "Why didn't you tell me it had gotten this bad?"
"Would it have mattered?"
She flinched.
"Of course it would have. You're my mother."
"Am I? Or am I just your emergency fund?" Tears streamed down her face.
"That's not fair."
"Neither is watching your mother lose her home while you buy luxury cars and plan Disney vacations." For the first time in years, I really saw my daughter. Not the sweet child I'd raised, but the woman she'd become. Selfish, entitled, so accustomed to my support that she'd forgotten I was a person with my own needs.
"What are you going to do?"
she asked quietly.
"I'll figure it out. I always do."
"You could stay with us, temporarily." The offer hung like a lifeline, and I felt the familiar pull of hope. But then I imagined living in the house I'd helped buy, watching them spend money they claim not to have, being grateful for charity from my own daughter. "No, thank you, but no."
"Then where will you go?"
I have a friend whose daughter has a garage apartment. It's not much, but it's a start.
Mom, I'm sorry. I never meant for things to get this bad.
I know you didn't mean it, but that's the problem. You never think about consequences because there's always been someone to catch you.
What are you saying?
I'm saying I love you and Emma more than my own life, but I can't be your safety net anymore. I can't save you from your own choices, and I can't keep sacrificing myself to enable them.
So you're cutting us off completely?
I'm setting boundaries. There's a difference.
I hugged her then, this child who'd become a stranger.
I have to go. Take care of Emma, and take care of yourself. The garage apartment was tiny but clean. Mrs. Torres, my co-worker's mother, welcomed the company as much as the modest rent. For the first month, I felt unmoored. I'd spent so many years defining myself by what I could do for Sarah that I'd forgotten who I was when I wasn't needed. But slowly, something unexpected happened. Without the constant drain of their emergencies, I began to have money left over. Not much, but enough to buy groceries without calculating every dollar, enough to feel human again. I started taking better care of myself, got my hair done for the first time in 2 years, bought new clothes, began eating regular meals. My coworkers noticed the change. 3 months later, Sarah called. Her voice was different, smaller somehow.
Mom, we need to talk. Can I come over?
She sat in my tiny apartment looking around with what might have been shame. She'd lost weight, had dark circles under her eyes.
Mom, I owe you a huge apology. I never realized how much you were sacrificing. I just thought you had endless resources, that helping us didn't cost you anything.
It cost me everything, Sarah. She nodded, tears streaming.
I know that now. Marcus and I had to face hard truths when your help stopped.
We've been living beyond our means for years, counting on you to bail us out. And we're getting help. Financial counseling, budgeting classes. Marcus got a steady job, and I'm working part-time. We're selling the SUV. I felt cautious hope. How many times had I heard promises of change? Mom, I want to pay you back. Not all at once, but a little each month. We've worked out a budget that includes payments to you. Sarah, no, please. I've been thinking about what kind of mother I want to be to Emma, what kind of daughter I want to be to you. I don't want her growing up thinking it's okay to take advantage of people who love her. The words I'd longed to hear, but I remained cautious. What about Marcus? Sarah's face tightened. Marcus and I have had difficult conversations. Honestly, this experience changed how I see our relationship. I never realized how comfortable he was with you supporting us. And Emma? She asks about you every day. I've been honest with her. I told her that Grandma and Mommy had grown-up problems to work out, but that we both love her. My heart ached with longing to see my granddaughter. How do we move forward? Slowly, I hope. Maybe you could come to dinner sometime. Maybe we could start rebuilding on healthier terms. I looked at my daughter and felt something I hadn't experienced in years. Cautious hope. I'd like that, but things can't go back to the way they were. I won't be your emergency fund. I won't enable financial irresponsibility, and I won't tolerate being treated like hired help in my own family. I understand, and I'm grateful you're willing to try again. 6 months later, I sat in their kitchen, watching Emma color while Sarah prepared dinner. The SUV was gone, replaced by a practical used sedan. Marcus nodded politely but kept his distance, which suited me fine. When Emma asked for an expensive toy, Sarah calmly explained it wasn't in their budget, but maybe they could save for her birthday. The old Sarah would have looked to me expectantly. This Sarah simply distracted Emma with a different activity. True to her word, Sarah began making monthly payments. Not enough to make a significant dent, but enough to show she finally understood these had been loans, not gifts. More importantly, the payments represented accountability. My own life continued improving. The garage apartment felt like home. I made friends with Mrs. Torres. My finances stabilized. I even started dating Robert, a retired teacher who understood complicated family dynamics. A year later, Sarah called with news. Mom, Marcus and I are separating. I wasn't surprised but kept my voice neutral. I'm sorry. Are you okay? Actually, I think I am. I've learned a lot about myself that I don't particularly like. I've been dependent on other people my whole life, and I've never learned to stand on my own. What will you do? I'm keeping the house. Emma and I will be on our own, which is scary but exciting. Do you need? I caught myself. Sarah laughed. Do I need money? That was your first instinct, wasn't it? No, Mom, I need to learn to manage on my own. I've got my job, and I'm looking into training so I can work full-time when Emma starts school. The relief was profound, not because I didn't want to help, but because she was finally taking responsibility. I'm proud of you, Sarah. Don't be proud yet. I haven't actually done anything except recognize the problem. Check back in a year. But I could hear the difference in her voice. The entitlement was gone, replaced by determination. 2 years after I'd said no to that mortgage payment, Sarah graduated from medical coding school and got a full-time job. She called with the news, her voice bright with pride. Mom, I got the job, $42,000 a year plus benefits. Emma and I are going to be okay. The we she'd always used had been replaced by Emma and I. She was thinking like someone responsible for her own family's welfare. That's wonderful, sweetheart. I knew you could do it. I couldn't have done it without going through everything we went through. Losing your safety net forced me to build my own. Last month, Sarah asked me to go house hunting with her. She'd saved for a down payment on something she could afford on her salary. As we walked through a modest 2-bedroom house, Emma running ahead and claiming the smaller bedroom, I felt a pride I'd never experienced. This wasn't something I'd given her or enabled her to have. This was something she'd earned. What do you think, Mom? Sarah asked. I think it's perfect. I want to make an offer, but I'm scared. What if I can't afford it? Then you'll handle it, just like you've been handling everything else. She smiled, and I saw the confident woman she was becoming. You're right, I can do this. As I write this, I'm sitting in my apartment, which no longer feels temporary. Robert and I are talking about finding a place together with a garden. I have savings again, not much, but enough to feel secure. Sarah brings Emma every Sunday, and we've developed new traditions that don't involve money or emergencies. We bake cookies, work puzzles, read stories. Emma is thriving, and Sarah is considering her bachelor's degree. Our relationship is different now, but healthier. She doesn't call in crisis anymore because she's learned to handle her own crises. Instead, she calls about Emma's school play or funny work stories. We talk about books and future plans. Most importantly, she respects me now in a way she never did when I was her perpetual rescuer. She sees me as a person with my own needs, not just someone who exists to solve her problems. The hardest lesson was that love doesn't mean saying yes to everything. Sometimes love means saying no, even when it hurts. Sometimes the most loving thing is stepping back and letting people learn to stand on their own. I spent years believing that being a good mother meant sacrificing everything for my child's happiness. What I learned is that sacrificing everything teaches your child that someone else will always be responsible for their welfare. If I could talk to the woman I was 3 years ago, desperately trying to save everyone while drowning herself, I would tell her it's okay to say no. Setting boundaries doesn't make you selfish, it makes you human. The people who truly love you will respect those boundaries. But mostly, I would tell her that she matters too, that her needs are valid, her future worth protecting, and she deserves to be loved for who she is, not what she can provide. Today, I'm not my daughter's emergency fund. I'm her mother, supporter, and friend. The relationship we have now is built on mutual respect rather than financial dependence. I'm 65 now, and for the first time in decades, I'm excited about my future. I have plans that don't involve rescuing anyone, dreams that belong entirely to me, and the peace that comes from finally taking care of myself. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is save yourself. If you like this kind of content, make sure to hit the subscribe button, drop a like and a comment, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss out on our new content.